On the Triple M app and on your radio, this is the Rush Hour. JB and Billy.
Wrapping up the weekend of footy.
We get Purple in here and discuss footy.
This is Damo's recovery session. When you need a tool, call Coates Hire on 13 15 52.
Love chatting to Damo on a Monday. Welcome to you.
Jim, Bill, and Rabbits, and there's a bit going on at the reigning premiership team, isn't there? The Tigers, who are winning enough matches to give themselves a fighting chance to defend that title, but off-field and with actions such as staging and recidivism, Bill, when it comes to Tom Lynch, at least making contact with opponents, they've got a few things to worry about. The tribunal.
Which of those do you want to start with, Purple?
Yeah, look, may as well the Lynch one. I can't see how the tribunal is going to come down with a finding against him. We know that the reason he's been put up is because it's effectively, in inverted commas, a third strike of such, I suppose, contact with opponents. The first one was Alex Witherden in round 10. Then we had the Sam Collins situation of round 12. And obviously out of the weekend, it was Michael Hurley. But I look at it in isolation, Jim, and while I don't like what I see, I just would be staggered that it could be worthy of a week. I mean, what's your take on it?
I'm the same. Yeah. Unless there is a cumulative effect, and I'm not aware that there is, you've got to take them incident by incident. And that one didn't look to me to be anywhere near enough for any more than a fine.
No, I'm a bit with you on that. And I think if you were to then suspend him, even if it is that third strike, to use that analogy or that, I suppose, terminology, it still doesn't sit quite right with me either. So I just think if they're going to start giving people a week for that sort of action, we're going to have a lot of players missing a lot of weeks. And again, look, if that's what they want to do, I'm all for it, provided they stay consistent. But I think the biggest stigma attached to the Tigers at the moment goes to Dylan Grimes, doesn't it, for the staging. It's the second time now that the system's got him with a fine. And his teammate Nick Floston also copped one on the weekend. His first offence, again in inverted commas, it's a staging offence. So it's practices, particularly with Grimes and Floston, that are frowned upon by other footballers, isn't it? And obviously the actual AFL industry itself does always look at a stager as a very big negative. Tom Papley copped it a couple of weeks ago. Callan Ward was levelled at him as well. So a few big names are copping it. It's clearly part of the game, and I don't see it being removed despite the crackdown of the authorities on such matters.
Well, I don't know what you think, Fat, but I think it's a very poor part of the game, and the more we do to get rid of it, the better, because we don't want to resemble Premier League soccer, which is farcically full of it. And
also,
by the way, social media cowardice is abhorrent, and we all know that. So we're never going to tolerate half-wits. That, what annoys me about that, Purple, is, let's say it's Jake Stringer. They write whatever they want about it. They would never walk up and say that to Jake Stringer's face in a million years. So it is cowardice. But when we get back to staging, Fat, I don't like the look of it. And if they legislate it out of the game, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah, spot on. And it makes it hard for the umpires, doesn't it? Because some umpires call it and they look terrible, a bad decision. So it makes it really hard for the umpires. So, out of the game.
It's just on a tribunal matter. Sam Pepper of Port Adelaide is challenging the 1 week ban that he got for a sling tackle on Ben McAvoy on the weekend. I've had a look at it a few times. It is in that, the way I look at it, in that new zone and that new realm of adjudication on such matters. He did sling him. Again, maybe going back a year, there's no way it would have been referred to being a week out of the game. But on the back of the cut down and the I suppose change up and the harsher interpretation since the Sean Burgoyne on Paddy Dangerfield bill back in round 2, it is in keeping with that. And I would think that he's probably going to struggle to get that 1 week ban removed, given that this is the one area they have really come down strongly on in recent times and seem to be doing it on a consistent basis now.
City Hall, there's a few exiting, Damo.
Ooh.
Yeah, there is, Jim, and it's very unfortunate. We knew that when 80% or thereabouts was stood down back in March, which happened to be a figure that a lot of footy clubs themselves operated under as well. You just knew that these were harrowing times for a lot of people and a lot of organisations, and I suppose the bearing out of that situation now on the back of the COVID-19 shutdowns and problems attached to it all have seen Gillon McLachlan, the AFL CEO, today address all staff and reveal that what was known to be the case, that would be at least 20% or thereabouts of staff not having jobs in the future. And it is sad because a lot of those people, as we have come to know since this really took a hold, this pandemic, it's through no fault of those individuals that they are losing jobs that they are very good at.
Yep, and also it's happening obviously at club level, Damo, and they're being told while they're on the hub. So a lot of the clubs are up on the hub, and they're being told that certain people won't be there next year. So it's tough, isn't it?
It's really tough, Bill, because most people who are still standing and are grateful enough and fortunate enough to still be standing in that employment sense are doing it on a 70 or 80% of what their contract had stipulated financially. And on top of that, they're also being stretched physically in ways that footy clubs are known for, and that is absolutely getting everything out of them. So, yeah, we know now that the soft cap for next year is going to be reduced from $9.6 million per club to $6.2 million. Those decisions that are now attached to that figure for next year are being made and relayed now, as you say, to these unfortunate people who are working as tirelessly as they ever have done.
Purple, we need to get a break in because next we get positive. Positive, Purple on the rush hour.
JB and Bill, Triple M's Rush Hour. This is the Rush Hour with JB and Bill, and for Coates Hire, Damian Barrett joins us chatting round 13.
Great friends of Coates Hire, of course. When you absolutely need her, get to coateshire.com.au. Great friends of ours, and of course, Triple M Footy. Now, Damo, we're getting positive here. Where are you starting?
I reckon we start with the Bulldogs. I really liked what they did on the weekend against Melbourne. I know you called that one, Jim and Bill. And look, I was really taken with their ability, particularly in that third quarter, to just remove any doubt about the contest. And they did it on the back of their good players, didn't they, in Bontempelli? And I think you both know my obsession now with Bailey Smith, who was just an absolute A-grade gun. But I love it, Bill. I love the ability of a player who's been in the system now a long time to reinvent himself, as Mitch Wallace is now doing. He's kicked 20 goals, 8 for the year. 4 of them came against the Demons, and he's actually loomed and now presented himself, Jim, I reckon, as crucial as any player on Luke Beveridge's list this year in terms of what they could do. And as we know, their best will trouble the best.
Well, we spoke to Chris Grant about that prior to the match, and that's my only issue with the Dogs. When they play well, they are such a dangerous outfit, but suddenly, and we saw it against Carlton earlier in the year, suddenly they can just turn up and be unrecognisably bad. So if they can get rid of that, then they are a top 6 side, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they had lost the 3 games going into that game against the Demons. So, look, I like what I saw on the weekend. I reckon it does give them enough hope. And their draw is one that allows them now to, I think, split their remaining matches and still get into the 8. Look, 3 wins would obviously seal it. But, Bill, we had an interesting discussion, didn't we, with Mitch Wallace yesterday on the Sunday Footy Show about the added motivation that they actually had in that game against Melbourne. It came from an unusual source. For those who haven't caught up with it, Mitch Wallace yesterday talking about what helped them get over the line against the Demons.
We're staying at the RACV complex, and it's a beautiful complex. And I think if we didn't get the chocolates yesterday, we may have been kicked out of here. So we used it as motivation. Seriously, it was actually mentioned in the pre-game that we really wanted to stay because we're loving it here. I think the alternative is to go up to Maroochydore, which is still a beautiful place, but we're quite comfortable here, and hopefully we keep winning so we can stay here.
Nice.
So, Jim, that's in reference to West Coast, the big dogs of the AFL, who have already hubbed once this season in the southeast Queensland corner, needing to go back again as a result of their games finishing now at the WA Stadium. And they had made it known that they wanted a nice accommodation, which is why the Bulldogs are residing. So I was really impressed with how Mitch Wallace actually revealed that publicly and did admit to it being an interesting aspect to their leading to that game.
And used it in the pre-game speech. So that was interesting. It was brought up then.
Hey, speaking of the West Coast Eagles, while we're being positive, now, I know some of the delivery into his area was as brain dead as I've seen for a long time, but you've still got to take the marks when they're presented. And Jeremy McGovern's mitts last night, Purple, were outrageous.
Look, we've seen it before, haven't we? And there's nothing that man that he's going to be able to do to shock us anymore, given he's already a 4-time All-Australian. But It might have been his most complete performance, you mightn't it? He's already all-time elite AFL talent, and he's still maybe getting better with the way he reads it. And you're right. I mean, his fellow big man in Nick Naitanui, he's had a really good 8 weeks, Nick Naitanui, particularly since the resumption of the footy. I think he was a little bit slow to get out of the blocks again when they did resume the games, but so too was his team. But I reckon he's flying and has probably put together his best 2 months of footy in the one hit as he's ever done. And we know the big boys up forward have been doing it all along. They've now won 6 games in a row in Perth. The only 6 games they've played since they left Southeast Queensland. They won their last 2 in Southeast Queensland. So they've put 8 on a row on the trot now. And look, when it's all said and done, they're going as well as any team, aren't they, on this year's flag hopes?
I'm going to get to GWS in the bad scare. Yes, Bill?
Yep.
You just hope they'd embrace the Queensland hub a bit better than they did when they first went there round 1 or the first round.
They lost that 3 games in a row, didn't they, upon resumption, rounds 2, 3, and 4. And they were sooking it up and even going publicly with that. And then they realised how bad that was coming across and they snapped out of it. They did win their last 2 games there in that area, and then they got back to Perth and won all 6. So, they're on track. They're on track. And I think it's probably a good balancing and levelling facility or mechanism inside the AFL 2020 fixture to get them back out of Perth, because it might have been impossible to beat them over there. And I don't think that's a bad thing for the competition.
Any other positives just as we get to the break, Purple? Quick ones?
Yeah, St Kilda, I want to put them in as a positive because of the fact they pushed the Lions all the way, only 2 points. I think they lost too much at all in that game. And they're hanging in there. They could have easily won the game against Brisbane Lions. They didn't, but I don't think in the big picture they lost too much. And I'll also throw in... Yeah, Jack Steele, how well? So you go. Also throw in the positives, guys. Richmond Footy Club for winning the Dreamtime game, but I think equally just throwing in the Darwin.
I loved it.
Stadium, the TIO Stadium, Darwin, the city, and the Dreamtime component to that match. And I felt that was a pre-match that was the best I've ever seen. The way the welcome to ceremony was done, and just the dancing and the full reverence and acknowledgement of the Indigenous component to the Dreamtime game. I absolutely loved it, and I'd like to think that if not annually, they could at least schedule that game in Darwin every 4, 5, 6 years.
Agreed. I loved it too. Let's get to a break because next we go to the dark side with Purple.
Oh, come on, Damian.
It's the Rush Hour, Triple M. On your home smart speaker.
Hey, Google.
And on your radio. This is Triple M's Rush Hour. JB and Bill and Damian Barrett joins us thanks to Coates Hire.
Yeah, just going to open the batting on the negatives myself, Purple, if you don't mind.
Stumpy.
Yeah, Stumpy lad. I've got my GC scoop. Leon Cameron, in review, Purple, will have vision of his mids and mid forwards going long to a spot where Mitch McGovern's standing there. He'll hit pause and he'll go, right, so that would be the wrong place to kick the ball inside forward 50 against West Coast. So you wouldn't expect for that to happen again in this game.
Yeah.
So then I'll show you the second one, and then I'll show you the third one, and the fourth one, and the fifth one, and the sixth one, and the seventh one. I mean, that's as brain dead a movement of the footy as I've seen for a very long time, Purple. How does that happen to really good players?
Yeah, I agree. And if you want to get some more detail on that, Jim, have a look at Access All Areas today. Matty Lloyd,
Lloyd, my man.
Yeah, your man, our man, got the down the ground cameras to highlight just what you said there, and the ability of that man, Jeremy McGovern, to just let his opponents run off him, and for him to come back and just read the play is quite phenomenal. And to see it from the down the ground perspective, it's everything that you just said was a problem for GWS, and they've lost 4 of their past 7 now. They're 6 wins, 6 losses. They've left themselves a massive task, and they've got Fremantle this week in Perth, the Giants, and I don't like their chances.
Yeah, that's no easy afternoon either, is it, of course?
And I'm going to walk out with you.
All right, come on, who are you?
I'm walking out. Well, I'm Dirk Wellham.
Right.
And what about, we have the golfing yips for putting, but Feeding and Brisbane, they've got to do something about their goal kicking.
What is happening there?
Yeah, I was going to throw them up there just at that moment too, Bill. 6 goals, 14 yesterday. What about this for a number, boys? 124 goals on the year out of their 13 games, but 159 behinds. Bill, they've played 13 matches. On 8 occasions, they've kicked more behinds than goals. Now, they're winning most of those games. That's still a positive. But it's an issue now, isn't it, given it's happening up until round 13 of this season, guys, because if you go back to the qualifying final last year, they kicked 8 goals, 17, 25 scoring shots against the eventual Premier Richmond. They did it the same the next week against GWS. They lost that game also at the Gabba. They kicked 11-14 last year. it's a problem, and I now do worry about it officially that it's going to cost them again, as it did last year.
Bill, like Cam Rayner, you wouldn't find a more talented young footballer that obviously number one draft pick overall. We know how talented he is. Put him 35 out directly in front in a set shot, and I reckon my young bloke Freddie would have a better chance of kicking a goal.
Yeah, I know.
It's unbelievable.
But even Hipwood, who and he is just you don't know if he's going to kick a point, a goal, or out in the full. Well, not even.
He was that shot. He was that shot yesterday, Bill. He appeared to make a decision as the ball was leaving his hand toward his boot to just not even have the shot of goal and just sort of pop it up into that zone, before the goals, and that was a damning stat. Another look, put onto the negative segment. It's not his own fault really, but Buddy Franklin's official exit from 2020 in totality won't be seen at all. We hardly saw him last year. You do worry about the remaining 2 years of that deal. Just on it. I'll never deviate off the opinion I've got of the Buddy Franklin to Swans deal, that it was a positive. He got them into two grand finals in which they were effectively favourites of in those 2014 and 16 years. Now, they lost both those games, as we know, but they were favourites at the start of the week in both of those games. And I think just the impact he's had is enough, no matter what happens from here, that it's more than a win.
I agree with you. I agree with that. A couple of quick negatives for me.
Yep.
Firstly, the Gold Coast Suns have completely hit the brick wall, and smashed the front of their car into it. And the Sydney Swans, you got to be able to kick more than 2 goals in a game of footy, surely to Christ. But Melbourne, Bill, we watched the Melbourne Footy Club play on the weekend. The one thing you know when you're playing against the Western Bulldogs is they are the best team at transitioning the footy from defensive 50 into a shot on goal.
They throw it around, don't they?
You're 7 points up at half time. 6 times in a row, Purple, they allowed the Western Bulldogs to transition from D50 and kick a goal. Now, you cannot let what you know beat you. And they knew that was coming at them. It was, I don't know what the hell happened, but that can't be allowed to happen if you're a decent footy team.
No, they not only knew about it, they spoke about it pre-match, didn't they?
Yep.
Pre-game.
In public forums. In public forums, they were well aware that was going to be the way the Bulldogs went at them, and they were backing themselves to stymie it. And when it actually happened, they were incapable of doing that.
Not only incapable, Fat, we watched the game. 4 or 5 times down that outer side, it was uncontested mark after uncontested mark, and Western Bulldogs players were 15 metres in the clear. So that's just a work rate and a will to defend that Melbourne just didn't bring.
Oh, no doubt about that. And also, I think they try and play this web and they just can't get it right, and everyone pushes up. But then once it gets out the back, which it did in that third quarter, just so easy goals for the Western Bulldogs. So I reckon clubs are trying to, West Coast Eagles did it pretty well in this web, and I see the Cats are doing it pretty well. But you've got to get it right, because if you don't get it right, it goes straight out the back. Tom McDonald's also a worry for him, isn't he? Because he just didn't fire a shot up forward. They tried him in the ruck, so I think they might have to throw him down back too now.
All right, Purple, buses
the 3
before
weeks
we
they
let you
got
go.
I'm sending the bus up to the Gold Coast, Jim. Jim, I'm actually sending the bus up to the Gold Coast Suns. They haven't won a game in their past 6. Now, they've had 2 matches lost by 5 and 4 points, and another game which was a draw amongst that 6. But like you, and you're big on this, they start each year pretty well and then fall away. So I reckon that's one bus. And the other bus, we've already got it there. We've already got it there in the hub for the Bombers up there on the Gold Coast, and we've got another bus waiting for them when they get back to Tullamarine in the off-season.
I love Woosha, but what the hell was he on about in that press conference? If you don't win a game in 5 weeks, you're entitled to be criticised, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Spot on.
I reckon you are. And also, too, the constant promising of a brighter future. He's been there 5 years. It hasn't got any brighter under that watch, and it's going to be Ben Rutten's problem now.
Hey, Damo, there's a new hub in town. Sanctuary Cove will host the Eagles, the Giants and the Kangaroos.
Nice in there.
Means Essendon and Western Bulldogs don't have to move. But so the Eagles are going to Sanctuary Cove, which means more money for the AFL too.
Well, Damo, we appreciate you coming in on a Monday. Love it. Thanks to Coates Hire.
Damo's recovery session. When you need a tool, call Coates Hire on 13 15 52.
Bill's joke to wrap up another show next. It's the Rush Hour, Triple M.